Hello again, and would you believe it, we're almost at the end of the series. Tonight on the National Bank Country calendar, we're all at sea, and not just around New Zealand shores. We're off to the sub-Antarctic as well. The reason? To explore different ways of handling the catch from our bountiful seas and to check on what's being done to protect them from overfishing. Here's Tony Benny.
New Zealand hoki was once regarded as being fit only for mincing up and turning into surimi for use in protein-extracted foods, but today it's one of our biggest export earners. The crew of the Sealord vessel Taimania have been part of something of a revolution in the way hoki is caught and processed. They're fishing in Cook Strait, just off the coast from Wellington. It's late January, a time when fishing's usually quite slow. Catches won't peak until winter, when huge schools of hoki will congregate for spawning. Skipper Peter Connolly has been fishing for 25 years. His two brothers are fishermen too. He knows these waters better than most. The trick is knowing where to be and when to be there.
No, you don't just drop the net down on the bottom and hey presto, the fish come in. There's a bit of how much wire to put out and certain times of the day, like where to be, you know, especially Cook Strait's real tidal fishery, you know, and you've got to be there at the time with the tide, and that's why you don't want anything to break down or nets to be broken, because you're most probably, in a day, you're most probably getting 5 or 6 hours of crucial time when you're going to catch your fish.
Well, I was going to get you to tell me about what all these screens are telling you.
Okay. Well, fundamentally, two of them, Furuno sounder, Simrad sounder, and our sea plot, which is most of our fishing history, where we fish, depths, contours, and tow lines where we traditionally tow. And
so on the likes of this screen here, what does all that mean?
Well, most of that there, up here is all feed. This is mostly the state-of-the-art as sounders go at the moment. Gives you a fish description, supposedly sizing. As you can see, most of the size of the fish is under 22 centimetres, so most of the fish here is feed, a little bit of bigger fish.
But where there's feed, there'll be big fish feeding,
well,
I suppose.
Hopefully where there's small fish, there's big fish.
The Taimania is what is known as a fresher. It doesn't have freezers, but takes its catch back to port unprocessed and chilled. The vessel has a crew of 12.
The truckers out there have got to look after themselves a bit, though, don't they?
Well, they all seem to look after one another, you know, like I try and keep an eye on them from here and making it a safe environment for them, because I'm driving the winch, so ultimately I have the control of everything. But
their lives are in your hands, really.
Well, they are in a sense, yeah. And this is the net monitor.
The white bit in amongst
the white bit amongst the floats. That tells us the headline height, and of course if there's any fish going in the trawl. Basically, from here back is nearly the length of 2 rugby fields.
From here to the end of the net?
Yeah. It's a long way back.
Is that a standard sort of size net? Or?
Oh, it's a big net. It's extremely big. There's no one, apart from us and the Thomas Harrison, towing these nets in New Zealand.
The Thomas Harrison is Taimania's sister ship. The two vessels spend most of the year in this area. At present, there aren't many other boats about, but when spawning starts in July, dozens more fishing boats will arrive. Though close to shore, the Taimania is fishing very deep waters, in particular 2 underwater canyons.
They're both supposedly, you know, created from, I suppose, large earthquakes, or they're just faults in the bottom.
Oh, so the nickel is quite deep there?
Oh, yeah, it goes all down the south end, 700 metres.
Which is, I guess, what the hoki like. They like that deep water.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, we catch them in 120 down to 800 metres.
And I guess you've all got us taking it too, because the more you catch, the better living.
Well, it is. It's a two-way street. If we're doing well, they're doing well, and the company's doing well. So we're always striving to be the best. So there must be more than, there must be 3 or 4 tonne there. which isn't bad. A couple of hours.
So in the peak of the season, though, you get a whole lot more in a net.
Oh, peak of the season, sometimes we might tow for 2-3 minutes for up to 30 tonne. We try to keep our shots down to 20 tonne in the season, just for the quality of the fish.
It's too many in there, they get squashed.
No, you squash them, and plus it takes too long to put the fish away.
The catch goes into near freezing water and then it's kept chilled by what's known as slurry ice. Scientists found the key to stopping hoki's soft, delicate flesh from flaking was getting its temperature down fast. When they're not on deck shooting or hauling the net, Taimania's crew are down below stowing the catch. Another level down is where the chilled hoki is held until the Taimania returns to port. Getting the fish home fresh has been important for Sealord in turning hoki into a high earner. It allows the company to produce a bigger range of high-value products for markets around the world. The emphasis is as much on quality as quantity of catch.
Well, hoki's is a soft fish traditionally, so you've got to look after it with kid gloves, and that's why we're using the chilled water, lots of ice, and trying to get it away as quick as possible.
One of the ways the process has been sped up is having vessels unload in Picton instead of Nelson. While it would take the Taimania 12 hours to steam to Nelson, it only takes a truck 2. The fish arrives at the factory fresher, and with a new crew aboard, the Taimania will soon be back at work. But one of Sealord's vessels ventures far further, to the oceans of Antarctica. More on that after the break. This is summer in the Southern Ocean, and even at this time of year, fishing boats heading south have to find their way through the ice. The 47-metre Janus is en route to the Ross Sea to catch Patagonian toothfish, one of the world's highest-priced seafoods. Ahead are more open waters, where the crew will use long lines lowered 800 metres. Sealord Chief Executive Phil Luff says this is the sort of thing the company is good at.
We do fish right around the southern hemisphere, so long distances are not unknown to us. But yes, we're fishing for Patagonian toothfish, or what the Japanese call miro, or the Americans call sea bass, in Antarctic waters. But the resource down there needed to be studied to see what size of resource there may be, how much could safely be taken to ensure a sustainable situation. And that's what we've been doing over the last 3 to 4 years, getting an understanding of the fishery and what quantity could be taken out. We feed that through our processing companies and then into our marketing operations. And it's sold particularly in Japan and the United States.
How worried are you about the pirates who are targeting toothfish in Antarctica?
We're very concerned about that because we were involved in the discovery of the species in another part of the world with assurance that it would be looked after by that government, and it wasn't. And the pirate fleet just came in and has destroyed that resource, so we didn't feel good about that at all. In fact, we withdrew and refused to be a part of it. In the New Zealand resource, our government's absolutely committed to protecting that area, but it's easier to protect this resource here in New Zealand, or New Zealand Antarctic waters, than in other parts of the world because it's covered in ice for 9 months of the year. So there's only a 3-month window of where fishing activity can occur, and provided legitimate fishing vessels are there, we will see if there's any pirate activity.
The oceans around Antarctica come under the Convention for Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Organisms. Under the convention, the total allowable catch of toothfish is 18,000 tonnes, but in 1997-98, it's estimated poachers took 80,000 tonnes. So, in February last year, the government sent the frigate Te Kaha south to deter poachers. The Navy didn't find any poachers, but once back within New Zealand's 200-mile exclusive economic zone, they turned their attention to foreign fishing boats operating there. Te Kaha's control centre is the operations room.
Bravo 1, this is Apollo radio check, over.
There are no windows, but thanks to an array of sophisticated electronics, ops room personnel have a very clear view of what's happening outside. And between Auckland Island and the South Island, they find dozens of squid fishing boats.
Our first vessel of the day. It's been visually identified as a large Russian trawler. Intention is for stick 2 to conduct the boarding using the starboard rib. Stick 2, starboard rib. Delta team, starboard rib.
Up on Te Kaha's bridge, Commander Ross Smith is in charge. Fisheries patrol is one of the Navy's jobs that has the power to board vessels to inspect permits and ensure quotas aren't being exceeded.
This is a New Zealand warship, Roger 3304 knots. Rig a pilot ladder your port side, 1 metre above the water.
Stand by to receive my boarding party.
Stand by to receive my boarding party, over.
Okay, I'll rig pilot the ladder on my port side. Stand by on channel 16.
I don't believe I've got the powers of arrest, but certainly we have a Ministry of Fisheries officer on board who would brief me that a vessel was non-compliant. I'd then seek further advice from my shore authorities and would probably end up escorting that vessel to the nearest port. From where we were, that would have been Bluff.
Though trouble's unlikely, the Navy is a military force and the boarding party's leader is armed, just in case. Te Kaha has a crew of 164, far fewer than the 250 on the old Leander-class frigates. Just as if this were a military operation, the target vessel is kept on one side of the frigate, while the boarding party gets into the rib, as the craft is known, on the other. The idea is to keep the boarding party concealed from the target as long as possible. The frigate barely slows down as the rib sets off over very cold waters.
We're very careful we choose the right course and give protection to the boarding party as they climb in and out of the vessel. But by the same token, we've got no control when they're boarding and disembarking from the target vessel. It's very much dependent on the skill of the boarding party to know the right moment to get up that ladder and get down that ladder again into the boat.
The fishing boat has slowed to about 5 knots, but even so, boarding is hazardous. The boarding party is accompanied by Ministry of Fisheries Protection Officer Barry Whitehead.
How many crew do you have? 75.
Paperwork and fishing gear are inspected.
Certainly the vessels that we've encountered over the last 3 weeks have all been quite compliant. I guess if you see a warship coming out of the gloom and ask you to stand by to receive a boarding party, you probably next question is, what time would you like me to receive them?
On the second fishing vessel, all radars are Russian made, Russian titles.
Electronic equipment is also given the once-over.
Yep, happy with that, yep. Yep. Hold on, yep, happy with that, happy.
Like all the vessels boarded, this Russian one is fishing on contract to a New Zealand company. The frigate has 2 ribs and 2 boarding parties and they take turns. Word soon gets out that Te Kaha is in the area and most fishing boat captains have everything ready for inspection when the boarding party arrives. For the Navy, the voyage south served 2 purposes. One was to deter poachers and the other was to test the Te Kaha in Antarctic conditions. And as she returned home, the Navy declared itself well pleased with its new frigate. At Sealord's factory in Nelson, the fresh hoki landed and cooked straight is processed with a minimum delay. So that the factory operates with utmost efficiency, the fishing boats supply fish according to factory requirements rather than just when they're full. Sealord is New Zealand's largest fishing company. Chief Executive Phil Luff runs a multinational organisation.
New Zealand is now in world leadership status in terms of very deep water fishing, and we've now rolled that skill out across the world. And so Sealord now fishes right around the southern hemisphere. We've got fishing operations in quite a number of countries. We've then developed a range of processing sites right around the world. Like catch fish in Chile, move it for processing in Thailand, and then market in Germany. Or we might be taking fish from Iceland and processing it in the United States and then marketing it in Mexico or something. Our skill base is really in knowing deep water species, how to develop them, how to make every fish a high value fish on a centre of plate meal in somebody's restaurant or in somebody's home.
The fillets are cut in a variety of sizes for different markets. The highest value pieces are what's called hoki loins, which are now in demand in restaurants around the world. Research has been the key in turning hoki into a high-value product.
Understand the fish, understand the market, and linking those two things together. What could be done with the fish because it's a very delicate fish. And so we had to do a lot in our fishing technology and our net technology to protect it, because the flesh bruises very easily. Just learning the techniques to fish in a particular way, and then once you've got the fish on board, to extract the heat out of the body very, very quickly to protect the integrity of the protein.
While most of the fillets have the skin removed, for one product it stays on and only the scales come off. Japanese consumers like the skin. In the past, the factory was busy when the fishing boats came in with full holds, but now the boats are required to bring fish when factory managers like Brian Brown need it.
Relationships develop between the skippers of the vessels and the factory managers, and yeah, there's a good relationship now where we're able to say to them, well, we're short of fish, we need you back tomorrow, and they're more than happy to do that for us, and it works very well.
They make it look easy, but filleting is a skilled job. These experts can do between 8 and 10 tonnes a day. The fillets are then sliced to make karimi, a traditional Japanese lunch dish.
We tried initially to train people. We said, well, stand in a room, here's some fresh hoki, cut it this way. And initially we had some problems with it, that it was difficult because it was different. They were cutting hoki with skin on. Traditionally we'd done it with the skin off here at Sealord. And yeah, we struggled the first few months, but once we got the process in line and started producing product, these people picked up very quickly. And basically we could take someone who'd handle a knife and have them fully trained in a couple of weeks.
What makes Sealord's karimi special is the fact the fish is delivered to the factory fresh, and only after processing is it frozen.
Twice frozen hoki is available anywhere in the world. Argentina, Chile, and the Japanese use that type of product everywhere. The strength of Sealord's business is the fact that we have the fresh fish and that we're able to supply it once frozen to a market that can't buy that anywhere else.
Does handling it fresh that way make a big difference to the product in the end?
Oh, it makes a huge difference to the taste. It's fresh, and the texture's better. It's probably the best answer. It's to the Japanese palate anyway. They can tell the difference.
Making karimi, or hoki fry as it's also known, is labour-intensive. Beneath the plastic sheet, the surface is refrigerated to firm up the slices so they keep their shape as they've been given a special coating. After flouring, the portions are battered and then coated with crumbs, made specially in a joint venture bakery on the factory site. Every piece is then checked for shape and quality. And then the karimi is rapidly frozen in a spiral blast freezer. Sealord exports to 30 countries, earning more than $430 million a year. Phil Luff is confident the company's future is bright.
The number of hoki swimming around New Zealand now is probably greater than in recorded history. So the resource is in very good shape. Every year for the last 5 years, scientists have been advising government that we could increase the amount that was caught. And every year we've argued, no, let's keep it lower, keep it under control.
In the mid-80s, hoki wasn't held in high regard, but since then, Sealord and other fishing companies have changed that. Today, hoki is Sealord's biggest earner.
Once we understood a lot more about the market and where it was going, we were able to put our product development teams into developing products and processes that really advance the value. So hoki is worth now maybe 3-4 times what it was years ago.
In hoki, the New Zealand fishing industry has a resource both lucrative and sustainable.
Interesting stuff. For our final program on the National Bank Country Calendar series, we're off to Canterbury to visit a family who I guess you could best describe as experts in beef and burgundy. See you in 7 days.
We've a brand new series next on One, My Hero. Then we celebrate fun that began 3 decades ago and turned comedy as we knew it upside down. It's Monty Python Night from 8:05 tonight on One.
Like the National Bank, Country Calendar has been a part of